We're continuing this book study on The Wisdom of Jesus by Cynthia Bourgeault. The two I want to talk about here is about growing up and waking up. Now, in Jesus, Cynthia would say, we have the example of both having happened. To grow up and to wake up. And they are independent of each other, and you can wake up without growing up, and you can grow up without waking up. So to define waking up, we define that by recognizing your oneness, essentially, with everything. And most of us identify with the objects of ourselves. I'm a doctor. I'm a male. I'm an American. I have a body, I have a degree, etc. Those are objects. And the one thing that knows the object is the witness. And the witness is really the pain, the membrane between the object world and the transcendent world. And the first part of your awakening process is to remove your identity from the things and become more identified with the witness. Now, as the process of awakening continues, you cease to be simply the witness and you begin to merge with the total consciousness, which is all of everything. So the witness is our beginning, and that's why we spend a lot of time in meditation observing what's going on, yet not identifying with it. Now, growing up and can happen to anybody. And growing up has its stages, which most of us would recognize already. Those stages are really like egoic. You can imagine a young person that basically doesn't know much, right? But is very much self-centered. No fault of their own. That's just the stage of development they are. They're at this, I, just me, I'm just about me. Now, as they get older, and I usually think of this around the teenage years, they become very much invested in the ethnic group they're in, which might be their 10 or 20 people, or it might be their school or whatever, and they become, or it might be, as you grow older, that might get wider, but it's still your people and those people. Now you see a lot of people are stuck in this phase right now. You see it everywhere. It's us versus them. Us versus them is in the ethnocentric level of development. And it's a necessary level of development. It has to happen for the person has to come up from the egoic to the ethnocentric. That's a mandatory thing if they're going to go any higher. To grow up further, then you become a world citizen. All countries have value. Everybody is important. Everybody has inalienable rights. Not just a few people, not just the in crowd, but everyone is included in our circle. These people are our people. Whether they live in this country or far away, whether they're close neighbors or they're the other side of the tracks, these are our people. We are only one people. Others. So you still have an ego, and you may still have a nation, but your intent is that all people prosper, not just your people or not just you. You begin to hold the best for everyone. You can see their point of view as well as your own. You can see that the nation over there has some of the same desires and some different traditions than you do, and they each have a place in this world. Now, there are other stages above that, and the stage above that is the one that can recognize that all the stages are important. That, of course, you recognize and honor the egoic, the ethnocentric, the cosmopolitan, and this transcendent state in which each of us realizes that we belong, but so do all these other aspects belong as well. There's a generosity of spirit. There's a harmonizing of all of this into an understanding that everything is necessary and nobody is wrong for being where they are. And to understand Jesus as just an awake being is not fair. Or just as a moral, high moral or socially aware being is not enough. You must realize that he has been able to do both. And in doing both, he becomes the great example for us to wake up, to grow up. Now, how would you act if you were an awake, grown-up? Well, what Cynthia is saying in the book is that Jesus is about giving it away. What he's doing is giving of himself as the great example all the way through to his death. That if you believe that you're one with anything, with everything, you can accept anything. You can be good with anything that happens. You can say yes to the will of God because you are not an ego. You can say yes to all the suffering that happens to you, as well as all the good that happens to you. You can say yes because you know, both by growing up and by waking up, you're not this small self. To not be identified with the egoic sense of self, either as a growing up or as an awakening being, liberates you from all your suffering, sends you to the level of awareness that allows you to move with such power and at the same time such grace that you could be an instrument of peace in the world, of healing, of transformation, of renewal of the human consciousness